What's up, Mortgage Coach community? I am super pumped for an impromptu interview with my good friend and industry legend, Cindy Ertman. What's up, Cindy?
Hey, Dave. It's always so good to be with you. It's so fun to be here.
It is so good to get to talk to you. And I literally think it's guaranteed that every time you and I do content together, they're among the most viewed interviews in the Mortgage Coach community. And I have no doubt this will be any different. So there are more new loan officers coming into this market than ever before. So I have a feeling there'll be some new loan officers like how to build a rock star mortgage team. Like people are going to want to know about that. So for any new loan officers on this, would you mind just giving a little bit of your, experience as both an originator and a coach, and then I'll add some of my color around that?
Absolutely. And I love this topic. It's probably one of the things that I'm most passionate about helping, particularly high performance mortgage originators do, is really redefine their team to redefine success for them. But obviously, when you're just starting out, obviously you typically don't have a need for a team. But my suggestion and my hope when I'm coaching new originators is we're building to get you to a place to have a team, because that's when the gold and the rubber starts to meet the road, when you can actually begin to build and expand your business. And look, let's just face it, this business, it takes an army, and it is a whale of a lot more fun to get up every morning and be an originator when you have built an incredible team of like-minded, value-oriented people around you. It just makes it fun because it's a team sport. So as a young originator or someone just starting out in the business, I always just say, it's amazing, Dave. Over the years, I've noticed, like even where I work, like we'd get new originators in and there's all this talent sitting right around you. Now, granted, not everybody's in their office today, right? But at least there's so much talent in these offices. And I used to think about how many people never called me and said, can I sit down and pick your brain? Can I take you to lunch and find out how you did what you did? And so when I started as an originator, I just decided right out of the gate, I don't need to reinvent success. I picked all the top leaders in the industry and I sought them out, and I went to conferences and I got online and I did trainings and I listened to videos. And I just learned from the best and thought, why reinvent success? I'm just going to do what they did. And it served me really well.
Yeah, really, really well. How many years did you do over 200 million as a team producer?
Well, we only did over 200 million, I think 2 to 3 years. We were in the 150 plus range for years. And then, but the thing that was interesting, Dave, is last year with what happened with COVID, obviously everything caught us by surprise, right? COVID caught us by surprise. The other thing that caught us by surprise was we didn't know last April 1st that we were about to hit the biggest refi boom in refi history. And so it's interesting to me coaching a lot of mortgage professionals. And I was coaching a new person this morning, actually, and she really wasn't prepared and didn't really have a whole lot of advantage from last year because she didn't have a team. And so her production was similar to the year before. And it's amazing. And then you talk to another originator who tripled their production because they had the team, they dialed in the team, they put their head down and they went to work and they didn't come up for air for 9 months. But the opportunity that was created last year was so profound. And that's what happened to me when I hit 203 million in production. Was we were prepared. Our team was dialed to the nines. We had a system, we had a flow, and we were doing 8 loans a day. And it was hard, but it was also really fun.
Well, let me frame this for anyone listening to it. If you're new, there's no one that you can listen to that can give you better leadership to help you become that team loan officer. If you're under $100 million and you're at this ceiling and you're like, how do I have more passion in life and get to that next level? There's no one you can listen to better than Cindy. And then I know it, for the over $100 million producers, the $200 million producers, they're all taking notes. Like this is how you get better, is you listen to people that have been there and done that. So Cindy, now in today's role, I know you still are leading a team, but you're spending a lot of your time coaching loan officers and helping them optimize their teams. So let's get into it. Whatever you're willing to share, please share it. For anyone that's watching this live in our Facebook group, bring comments. If you hear something that Cindy said that you really liked, let us know what it is. And if you have a question, we'll be live. We'll talk about it. So let's rock it out, Cindy.
Great. Okay. So I'm just warning you guys, I all brought notes because there's some things. I've got some very specific hiring practices that I just believe, look, I learned to do it right by getting it wrong, the early part of my career. So being that, I ran a very sizable branch here in Southern California and ran a region with my partner for many years, have hired hundreds of people over the years. And I really started to develop strategies to help mortgage originators build the right team. So first and foremost, I want you to just think about when you're looking at your business, really identify, like, look at the top 5 things that you want to do as an originator. And obviously it's going to change the further up the food chain you go. So when I'm coaching a $180 million mortgage originator today, it's usually around creating life balance strategies and how to get them completely out of their business and focus on just relationship development. And even when I'm, coaching a $30 million $30 million a year producer, they typically have similar challenges. So think about like the top 5 things that you want to focus on and where you want to focus your time, energy, and attention. As you go through your day, I encourage you to really look at how you're spending your time. I hear it 20 times a day. I can't get out of my files. We're control freaks. We can't get out of our files. I teach people how to get out of their files and how to empower the team, build the right team, get out of the way, and go build relationships, because we are relationship specialists. We're not really mortgage people. So, one of the things, Dave, that I have always loved, as you know, we were mortgage coach users my whole career, both my partnerships. I tout it to all my high performance groups. Now we bring you in to do training to get people on board, because it is just such a big differentiator. And it's always been a differentiator, but we know we're going full bore into a purchase market, and a skinny one a little bit at that. And so we need every advantage. So Mortgage Coach not only helps, obviously, from the standpoint of getting borrowers in a whole different space about your level of expertise. It's great with your realtor partners, but it's also really great for your team, because your team knows exactly what's being presented to the borrower. They see the videos if you're doing videos with them. And it's just a really, this is a team sport, and it's just one of the best tools out there. So, I'm one of your biggest fans. And if you're not using Mortgage Coach, just do it,
So I want to insert 2 things, because I hope people got the takeaway that the biggest teams that have scalable success, the team leader is usually not in the files. There's exceptions to every rules, but they are the business builder. So think of where you're at when it comes to that. I think that idea of auditing our day, that's the other thing. Even the best teams, the most effective people I know, we audit our days every now and then. I feel like I'm a pretty productive, effective person, but I don't know that I do it every month, but I do it every quarter, where I spend a week and just hey, how am I spending my time? What am I going to say yes to? What am I going to say no to? And then as Mr. Mortgage Coach, I hope and I pray that everybody heard the part where Mortgage Coach, one of the most valuable ways that it serves high performing teams is it's the handoff. We all know that when we're helping a family, there's a lot of cover and move, and you do this and I'll do that. And then you do this and then you do that. And when you're a Mortgage Coach team, you've got someone doing the setup. And remember, in today's market, you got to win bidding wars. So you got to be really smart on how you deliver and how you prepare a family to win in the bidding war. And we also know that we lose more bidding wars than we win. So there's a lot more handoffs. So I just want to call out that Mortgage Coach saves a lot of time, and it helps you win a lot more bidding wars because of and we built a team feature. So if you're listening to this and you don't have the team edition of Mortgage Coach, it's only available at enterprises. Make sure you ask your admin, hey, I want the team edition of Mortgage Coach. And if you're a broker edition, that is not currently available, but it is in our enterprise edition. So keep it rocking, Cindy.
Well, Dave, and we all know this as originators, but as we move up the ladder, we then see a top originator typically open their own branch, and now they're responsible for the whole staff and the team. And it's interesting because originators are not really trained most of the time to be leaders. They're trained to be top originators, and then they move into this role as leaders. And that's a really tough transition for a lot of people because they're so focused on their business. I coach a lot of originating branch managers. I would say it's one of my special gifts because I was one. But one of the things that's so important is when you get to that role to understand that it's now time for you to transition into a leadership role. And you really need to be able to lead the team, get to the 30,000 foot level, spend time managing your day so it's not just managing you, and make sure that everybody's aligned, everybody's clear on their roles and responsibilities. I have all my high-level mastermind clients, all of them, map out their process from the time a lead comes in the door, they meet with their team, they map out the flow, we map out the process, we give them some examples for how other people do it, and they build out their process and their flow with systems so that it's replicatable. And that's the key. Is I have so many people going, well, we kind of have a system, we kind of goes to this person or goes to that person. That's not a system. So the reason that I was able to hit 200 million is we got systems in place, and it's really not that hard to do. It's pretty easy. It just takes a little bit of time and focused attention. Also, mapping out your day. When I was coaching I coach a team of 3 that are past clients, and I coach them together, and it's awesome because they're all top producers. They all share best practices. But one of the team members today said, I finally am able to map out my day and I show up to my work schedule instead of it mandating my day. So that's what he spent the last 3 years building a rock star team, and he can now lead the team, and he has transitioned into incredible leader. And Dan White, hats off to you because you're a rock star, and he's a big Mortgage Coach fan to boot. So I've got a couple notes I want to share with you. I want to just share, I'm going to go through some specifics, and you're going to want to take some notes on this because I do have a very specific hiring process, and I'm going to go through this kind of quick because this is a kind of a much longer signature training that I do. But I want to give you some just key points. And if you follow this formula, I'm telling you, it like wins almost 100% of the time. So first of all, you want to hire to your weakness. So many people, myself included, I hired LOAs along the way that I really liked. And that's before I had a hiring formula, and realized that was not a good choice because they were frequently not the right fit. They were too much like me. I need to hire to my weakness. I am a very, very big DISC profile. I use DISC 2.0. I don't like the freebie versions. I like DISC 2.0. And I love that. I've run it for many, many, many years. I have all my coaching clients run it on themselves and their entire teams. And I become sort of a DISC profile master in terms of the role that you are looking to fill. And I'm not kidding, Dave. I mean, look, we know that things can falter, but it is pretty darn true to form almost 100% of the time. Like when I'm looking at LO profiles, they're either DI or ID. And let me just give you a quick little descriptor. D is really their drive. It's their dominant factor. So to be an LO, you got to have some high D in you. And typically I'm an ID. You got to have some I because it's a people business. We're building a relationship. There are times, I got a client right now. She is a D, C. And C is really what you want for your LOA or your processor, because you want them to be detailed and organized. C is conscientiousness. So I'm always looking for high C if I'm hiring for an LOA position or a processor. But she does 100 million a year and has very little I in her, very few people skills, but she has overcome it by being just that good at her craft. So
we're not going to call out a name, but I think I know who that is. And I think you probably know this, but Tim Brahim was he a DS or a DC?
He's got to be a DC. He's got to be.
Because I interviewed him. I think by the way, guys, this is in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. We did a Tim Brahim interview back in the day on his perfect loan process. And yeah, he was a DC. It shocked me because there's not, almost every top producer is either, to your point, a DI or a D or an ID.
Well, and with Tim, it's a great example because I was on the faculty of Loan Toolbox with Tim for 17 years. And so I spent a lot of time with Tim. He was definitely one of my mentors. And yes, that guy was as detailed and conscientious and organized as they come. Very highly unusual for an originator.
Highly
unusual. So that's how he built all of his processes and systems. But one of the things that it's really important to really think about what you want to do as part of the process. So for me, when I got clear, my top 5 things were really, okay, I'm going to build amazing relationships with my referral partners. I want to focus my time on building deep connected relationships with my clients. I want to be able to structure their deals because I had a lot of self-employed borrowers. I became masterful at tax returns and structure. So that was one of my gifts. I wanted to lock the loan and toss the ball. And so I'm always amazed when people are like, well, I can't turn that over to my assistant because they expect me. Well, my clients expected me to, but as you grow, if you build the right team, they don't need it to be you as long as you sell the team. So my handoff at the end of I spent about 15 minutes with my clients when I was hitting my higher thresholds. I had a very systematized call. It was building that connected relationship on a deep level, gaining trust, and then just sharing. My kind of sign off comment was, let me tell you how we work and how our team is structured so you know what to expect. And I would just walk them through exactly what to expect. I'm going to introduce you right now to Carrie, my rock star transaction coordinator. She's been with me for 7 years. She is responsible for moving your loan through the system from contract to close, because we are like a conveyor belt. We move you through the system. And when Carrie asks for documentation, Mr. Brower, we'd love it if you would get us docs back within 24 hours so we can stay on track for all of your contingency days to make sure that we deliver an incredible experience. We're here to make this easy, comfortable. We're going to walk you through, hold your hand every step of the process, and you are going to love my team. They are best in class, and we take very good care of you through the process. And I just, then I would hand off. And the only 2 times I called my clients were congratulations, your loan is approved, and congratulations, your loan has funded. And I had more business than I knew what to do, because they were handled by an amazing team that knew a process and a structure and a flow. They got contacted at 7 key milestones of the loan, and every Tuesday they knew what to expect. So that's so much creating the client experience. It doesn't have to be fancy. It has to be reliable.
Yeah, that Cover and Move. One of my favorite leadership books is Extreme Ownership, and one of the key principles is cover and move. So, guys, how are you doing right now at your cover and move? And what's your question on this? Consistency. Obviously there needs to be a consistency, but there's always that dichotomy between, okay, there's consistency and like there's Tim Brahim consistency, and then there's normal human beings. And especially us ADD high DNIs, any feedback you have to folks on, the dichotomy of consistency when it comes to the cover and move in the team process?
People get so afraid to say the words, I'm going to turn you over to, like they're, and we think it's all about us. And what we have to understand is it's about them. And as long as we have a process and a system, and what I find is the minute people actually take the time to develop a process and a system and consistency in their business, it elevates their confidence through the roof. Because, we don't have confidence in driving a lot of business in if we don't have consistent systems, because we know we're letting people down and things are falling through the cracks. So in taking the time, and look, everyone's like, I'm too busy to focus on it. I'm like, well, you know what? If you want to build a business, you got to map out and make your business a priority and commit 3 hours a week to working on your business instead of in it, and become a leader, because you can't go to the next level without it. So just that confidence comes. I always say, act as if until you feel comfortable, in real life. We've got to act as if sometimes and do those things that are uncomfortable. One of my clients in Chicago last week, he said, I still do the Tuesday updates. He was in the core every Tuesday. You call the clients. He's like, I still do them every Tuesday. It takes me 3 hours of my day. And I said, stop it. I said, he's got a great LOA. I said, have her do the Tuesday updates. He goes, so before we even got off the call, I love these people. This is the people I love to code. He emailed his LOA. He said, moving forward, you're going to do all the Tuesday updates the next week. They love her. He goes, oh my gosh, they love her. And she loves it because she's getting to talk to the clients. So it's a perfect win. And he didn't even realize he could do it. He's never missed a beat. And it freed up 3 hours a week of his time. So look, I don't teach anything I didn't really do. And then my other favorite thing, Dave, when you get further down the pike and you're a top originator, then I help people get systems around not being in their email anymore. And it's a pretty incredible thing. They pick up 2 hours a day.
I don't know if we'll have time to get into that, but
we'll do that another time.
Yeah, it would be a great reminder just to get a high level on that. But one suggestion I have, folks, because anytime you have to do something new, and this is my own personal hack, I'm going to do it 20 times. You do the same thing 20 times. And if that is your goal, like, okay, I got to do it 5 times this week. I got to do it 5 times that next week. By the time you've done it 20, and if it's do a TCA, you do it 20 times in a couple of weeks to a month, you got it. And then I like what you also said, when you start setting expectations with your partners, when you tell your team, guys, this is the way we're going to do it, or you tell your realtor, hey, realtor, this is the way we're going to do it, it creates accountability around that. So loving this, Cindy. Remember, guys, if you are watching this live and you have a question, put it down below in comments. And if you're watching this recorded in YouTube, Cindy is a regular in our Facebook group, and this will not be the last time I interview her this year. So any questions you have, put them in the YouTube also.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dave. So I'm just going to run through some very specific hiring strategies now, and I'm going to read a few things. So I'm not looking at my phone, just so you know. But I wanted, what happens frequently, and I know that not all of you have control over how you hire or the hiring process, because some of you work for large national mortgage banks and it all goes through the human resources department. And I get that. But I don't want you to think you cannot influence some of it. You can put an ad together and send it to your HR department. And I've done it many, many times, because a lot of times the way those ads go out is it lists the roles and responsibilities, but they're not terribly compelling. And so when I'm writing my own ads, and I wrote hundreds of them over the years, is I want to make, first and foremost, you want a paragraph at the top of your ad to hire the right person that is explaining the experience they're going to have in working with you and your team. What are they entering into? You know, people leave companies for leadership and culture. They really rarely leave for money or rates. They leave for leadership and culture, and they want to know they're entering a better environment for their life. So we want to paint a picture. So obviously I run a coaching company. So I'm going to read a couple of headlines that I have put in my own ads recently for people that I was looking to hire for, just to give you an example. So one of them is, are you interested in becoming an important team member of a company creating transformational change in the financial world? If so, we are looking for you. Another one, if you're a self-starter, highly organized, creative, and positive person who wants to step into an audacious mission of making a difference, then we are looking for you. The Defining Difference is a growing success-based coaching and training company committed to helping mortgage professionals transform their business and their lives. We are ready to grow and are seeking a competent, responsible, committed to excellence superstar waiting to help us grow. So it's a whole different energy if you know that's the headline to the ad, and then you get into all your roles and responsibilities. But talk about who you are in the world. Talk about what your values are and why joining your team is going to make a difference in their lives, and how you're committed to making a difference in the lives of others through your business. So it makes a big difference. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And I have examples of it from so many people that I coach. When they start to build the team, they get clear on their mission and their vision and their purpose, and the whole team gets around the vision. It is unbelievable. Not only what happens to people's business, but it's infectious. It creates momentum, and it creates a lot of retention and loyalty that people want to be part of. So it's not that hard to do. It just takes some intention around how you're leading your team. And then a couple of other things. So I'm going to give you 5 of my favorite, I think I have 5 here, of my favorite interview questions. And so I'll say these slowly, but these are questions that have sort of changed the game for me. And these came about for lots of different reasons, like I said, of getting bad hires. So on a scale, one of my favorite questions, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being most organized and 1 being least organized, how organized are you? Because if you're hiring a support person for you, no matter what your DISC profile is, you need a highly organized and detailed assistant, whether it be an LOA, a processor, you need someone organized. Pretty much any hire for me, that's what I want. I want them to be a high C on the DISC profile. They've got to be organized and conscientious. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being most patient, how patient are you? I've had so many people I haven't hired because of the way that they've answered this question. No jokes. I interviewed a gal for a marketing position last summer, and I asked her this question, and her response to me was, well, and she was young, so she was only like 28 years old, but she said, you know, I'm pretty patient. I think I've learned to be patient as I've gotten older, but I'll tell you one thing, they better bring me my meal on time, because then I'll get mad. And I thought, she just talked herself out of a job in the answer to one question. She was not a patient person. It takes a lot of patience for your LOA to be supporting your realtor partners and your clients and all the personalities and the stress of, so it takes a patient person. And then on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most urgent and 1 being less urgent, what's your sense of urgency like in business? Are you kind of more lackadaisical? Are you calm? Are you tell me a little bit about your sense of urgency, because we need a sense of urgency. That's why we need that D. We need someone that's got the drive that's going to push it through, because I don't have time to babysit people. So they've got to have their own drive. But I love that question. And so 2 of my favorites. If I was talking to your boss right now, or your former boss, if they're not employed at the moment, and I asked them one area of improvement for you, what would they tell me? Now, they'll answer that question differently if you ask what the boss would say than if you just ask them, what's one thing that they need to improve on. When I ask them what they need to improve on, I don't really get honest answers, has been my experience. But if I ask them if I'm talking to your boss, so when I was interviewing for this marketing position, it's a virtual position. It was a guy out of Florida, I remember. And he told me that if I ask his boss, and he was doing great in the interview, I really liked him. But he answered that question. He said, my boss would probably tell you that I'm not that great of a communicator and I'm a little slower than he'd like. I'm like, well, who would say that in an interview? But that's what he said. It draws a different quality out. And then lastly, Dave, if this is a fit and we decide that we're going to work together, what's one area that I could help you grow? Because I really want to make a difference in your life too. What's one area I could help you grow? And then they're going to kind of tell you their weakness. And it depends on what they say in that question. Another question I always ask, because I want to make sure we're a value alignment, is I always will say, look, trust is my number 1 value. So if I trust you, I will go to the mat for you. But talk to me a little bit about some of your values and how that integrates into your life, because I want to hear what's important to them. That tells me a lot about them. So finding value matches is also a very big part of the process. And as you know, Dave, our dear friend Jeremy Forcier, who has his 6 non-negotiables for his team, I love Jeremy's non-negotiables because they're really kind of, it creates a value match, right? We're going to be about the team.
So what are your thoughts? Because he not only has great non-negotiables, but he's got a team vision. Good people deserve great advice, and he's got it in writing. He says it to his client. He says it to his team, and that's his vision. That's his mission. He wrote it. He came up with it. He thinks about it. How important, again, the non-negotiables, but also the team value proposition, and call it a team mission statement. How important is that?
I think it's huge. And what I find frequently, in fact, just yesterday was coaching a client in Florida, and his exact words were, I'm going to sit down this weekend. I'm going to redefine the vision for the team. I'm going to redefine the roles and responsibilities. And I'm going to come in on Monday and I'm going to tell them what we're doing. And I'm like, well, that is one approach. It wouldn't be my approach. And can I give you make a different suggestion? I said, I'm going to suggest that you block out 2 hours with your team and you bring everybody together and you talk about your overarching vision of what you think you'd like to create, but you want to do this a team and you want to get their input. Because I go, when you get their input and they start to add, their ideas matter on your team. And I did a leadership training 2 years ago for a title company. And we sat with a whiteboard and we had all the leaders from that state, throw out what their most important changes are that they wanted to make in the company. And so we just started, and then we mapped out what are the top 5. Then let's prioritize the top 5 and let's create a vision and a time frame around when these are going to be implemented. But when you get your team committed to your vision, they want to help you get there. So I highly recommend that you sit with your team, you talk about your goals, talk about their personal goals, and then help define a vision around what's important. And also one of my favorite questions to ask your team members is, what do you need from me to help you be more successful in your role? And a lot of leaders don't ask for that feedback because they're afraid to hear the answer, but great leaders do,
So I want to read a why statement, a mission statement from one of our mutual clients, Michelle Town. And I remember when I interviewed you and Michelle, and I actually collect top professionals that have really clear, really compelling missions. And she said, we want to make a positive impact on our clients' lives by offering extraordinary customer service with compassion, creativity, and consistency and clear communication. We want the family, we want our family's homeownership and wealth experience to be remarkable. Always remember to think yes. So now I want you guys to hear that. That is totally unique to her. Those are her words. Those are her statements. I know she collaborated with her team in the development of that. And I also love to collect these. So if you're watching this, whether you're watching the recording or not, and you have a, I don't know, I don't want to call it a team mission statement because it's a purpose statement to a consumer that also has some marketing value, like something that you integrate into your promise to a family on how I'm different, but it's also something that your entire team buys into. If you've got something, cut and paste it. Cindy and I want to see it. Anyway, Cindy, you're killing it. I know you've got another meeting in 17 minutes, so I want to honor that. And I'll talk as little as possible. And I know you've got some things you want to unpack, but I want to get some why statements. Like, what is your purpose? Put it in comments down below.
And if you don't really know how to do that, go get Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, because he kind of walks you through how to do it. So if you're not sure on the how, that's a great place to start. So the other thing I highly recommend, Dave, is, and a lot of people falter on this because they think they're the only person that should interview a candidate, but you want to have, my preference is to have that candidate interviewed 3 times. So for me, I have 3 different members on my team. We do not do the interview together because they're going to ask different questions. I want them to make their own assessment. And even in our branch, I remember Dave, Brett and I used to interview LOs together when we were recruiting. And I thought, finally realized it's a mistake. We need to do it differently because I asked different questions. I saw different nuances. I pulled other things out of candidates, or he did. And you get a lot more value for doing separate interviews. My first interview now is always on Zoom or video conferencing. I don't even waste a phone call because I want to see your energy. I want to feel you. I want to get a sense of who you are. I want to get a sense of your personality. I'm pretty quick to be able to sum people up. So I want to be able to see you on a first call. I made some mistakes a few years ago, having people come in for a position, and I had a lot of people come through, and I was like, why did I waste my time, meeting with these people where I could have had a 15-minute, call on Zoom and save myself a lot of time, energy, and effort.
I want to insert something there too, guys. You have to start doing that with everyone, because we also live in, even though we're going to get back to the real world, part of being a modern mortgage professional is on Zoom and in person. So you want to know, you can train them to be a master on Zoom, but you want to know, where are you starting? Like, do they know how to use Zoom? Do they know about backlighting? Do they, how do they show up in this Zoom meeting? So wanted to insert that.
Great. And then this saved me last summer when one of my assistants used to work for a law firm. And so I had her doing a Google search for one of my candidates. We did this, we do it on everybody that's a, final candidate, but she taught me something last summer that totally saved us. So she said, in addition to just Googling their name and looking at their social media accounts, to kind of see what you're getting, another important thing is to put in their phone number. And she said, in between the numbers, like you would a dash, like a 310 dash, she says, put a dot as well. So 310 dot, 520 dot. She did that. And she said to me, I was scheduled to have a Zoom meeting with this woman in about an hour. And she walked into me with her laptop last summer and said, you're not going to like what I found. I'm just going to be honest. She was a call girl, and I saw way more of this girl than I ever needed to see. I said, it cannot be the same person. And we got on Zoom and it was the same person. So obviously my Brad's important to me. My integrity is important to me. Like, I would have never known that had she not plugged that in. So I'm just saying it's worth us to go a little bit deeper. I also almost hired a processor one time, get this close before I did a Google search, and come to find out she was a professional poker player, like on online tournaments, banned from clubs, like all over the internet. And, I mean, it's the real world today. And I think we've got the ability to know a little bit more about our candidates, and there's good people out there. And this is the whole thing. You know what it's like if you have a bad hire, you go through all the time of training and teaching them, get up to speed, and they're not the right person. Now you got to start over. And even trying to let people go in today's world is very difficult. So we want to get the hire right on the first round, so that you can set yourself up for long-term success. So I've just learned a few things along the way that have really, really helped. And then, really look at your team, like meet with your team on a regular basis. Talk to your team about what the biggest challenges are they're facing. Talk through what you can do to make a difference, not, in their lives. One of my clients just said to me, he just joined my current mortgage mastermind elite group, but I loved it. He said, this business has made such a difference in my life. It's changed my whole world. My goal is to add 5 more people to my team because I want to change their life too. And I thought, what an awesome thing to say, to be that clear. Another thing I wanted to share with you, we were talking about Jeremy's non-negotiables, but it's also really important when you're hiring people. It's like, what are your non-negotiables for your life? And you need to really look at that before you hire someone. Where do you want to get your life back? Like I had non-negotiables. One of my non-negotiables was be home for dinner by 6 o'clock. And I ate dinner as a family with my kids without my phone every single night. My kids would sit here and tell you right now, we were the only family that did, but I worked so many hours that was a non-negotiable. I took 2 weeks vacation every summer, usually to an island because I was so exhausted. But my kids have been all over the world on islands. So I took 2 weeks off every summer. I would get another LO to cover for me. It wasn't perfect. I lost some business. It was a non-negotiable for my family. And now that I have grown children, I can tell you, for those with young children, there are no do-overs. Dave, you know this only too well, right? There are no do-overs. So we got to make it count. We've got to make good choices. So if you're hiring a new person, you want to be able to have someone that can really take part of this business off your shoulders, so that you can not only have a very successful business, but I want you to have a really successful life too. Because why are we working so hard if we don't want a fulfilling life, right?
Hey, Cindy, I know you've got a lot to cover. We've only got 10 more minutes, but I think it's so important, something you said, and I want to hear how you answer this question just for some self-help for me. But what is the story you tell yourself, and what is the advice you have to someone about having dinner without the phone on, and about turning off the phone when we get home? Any leadership you can bring to mortgage professionals that are, and I know a lot of them, we even need reminders about balancing that home versus business. Give us just a minute on how to break the habit of being connected to our phone when we're at home.
I mean, for me, raising 3 kids, and obviously, like, I'm a complete perfectionist, and I wanted to be this, great leader and run this great branch and be a great mortgage professional. And I wanted to be all things to all people, but I was very, very clear that I also wanted to be a great mom and a great wife. And that was terribly important to me. So I did a lot of my own coaching. I have 2 coaches right now. I've had coaching my whole career for the last 30 plus years. And a lot of coaching helped me get clear on what was most important. And in my high level mastermind group, the calls that we do are very, very tactical on how to build and grow your business and establish your team and create best practices. Our retreats are more about you as a person, and we get people really clear on what really matters most. And you know what? People value it, and so I just had this conversation with one of my clients in Arizona a couple of weeks ago, because she's raising little kids. And I called her 2 nights ago, and I was so proud of her because she had the same voicemail on her phone that I had on my phone, which was, and just so you know, I said, I do turn my phone off. I have 3 little kids. So I do turn my phone up between 6 and 8 p.m. to have dinner with my family, because they deserve my uninterrupted presence as well. And then my phone's back on at 8 o'clock, and I will be happy to call you back as soon as I finish dinner with the kids. And thank you. I appreciate your understanding and your patience. And I hopped back on the phone at 8 o'clock. It was no big deal. And it honestly gives permission to other people to do the same. So I never felt like I lost any business from.
I'm sure you didn't. And you also, you're communicating that with your clients. It's just a standard that you set up. So we got about 8 minutes left. Rock it out. What are some of your, what's the last 8 minutes of information you want to make sure you get to everyone?
Well, I think one thing when we were talking about non-negotiable, just a couple of thoughts here to help you maybe develop some for yourself is, to get clear. I mean, it's funny when you sit down with a pen and paper, and I've got an exercise around, your non-negotiables, but what are your must-haves? And it's funny because we just don't take the time to sit down and be still for a minute and go, what are your must-haves? What are your want to haves? What are your like to haves? I mean, some people would love to have a second home. That's a very important thing for them. I mean, Dan White, who I talked about earlier, I just posted his why video. Dan White, we got 15,000 views on Dan White's why video, Dave. Incredible, incredible video, which is so heartfelt about his why is his wife's why. And she wanted a second home in Laguna Beach, California for their grandchildren to run on the beach. They didn't have grandchildren. But 9 months after he set that intention video on his why, he bought a home in Laguna Beach. It was a 5-year goal. He bought it 9 months later and then found out his daughter was pregnant. And he now has a house in Laguna Beach for his grandchildren to run on the beach. So whys are very, very important. My client, Tom Couture, who I love, Tom, just incredible. He went through my Mortgage Mastermind Elite program 2 years in a row, went from 40 million to 58 million. Then went from 58 to 128 million, closed 579 units. I'm coaching him this morning and he told me he's already at 200 closed units or 222 so far this year. Tom got super clear not only on his why, but he got so clear on his intention for how many families he wanted to serve. And he would tell you personally, he doesn't even know how it happened, but he created an intention statement that he said out loud every morning before he got out of bed. And he goes, I don't know how this stuff works, but you got me so clear on my attention that his business just exploded. And his goal this year is to serve 800 families. And it's just been amazing. But it helped him get through a glass ceiling he didn't know he could get through. And turns out there was a whole nother world of possibility waiting for him because he hired the right team. He mapped out roles and responsibilities. He got out of the file. He empowered the team and he's focused on relationship. And I couldn't be more proud of him.
Whether you give his or not, but could you give an example of an intention statement? I think that's what you called it.
I actually don't have his like in my brain where I could.
Or just someone's. Give me an example of when you say, did you call it an intention or an attention?
No, intention. So he would tell you that the number one thing he got from coaching with me is he started to realize the power of intention. And I don't even think it has to be as much about a statement, but I think when you sit down with pen to paper, Dave, and you think about what intention do I have for my business? Now, one part is production, right? Like how much do we want to, fund? One may be an income goal, but what is your intention in terms of who do you want to serve? I had to fill out a questionnaire yesterday for a new social media company. And one of the questions is, who's your perfect client? And so I didn't describe a perfect client for me that has enough money to pay me. That doesn't even enter my brain. I've never done what I do for money. Certainly don't do it now. I'm all about helping people grow. But my intention statement was, what kind of people do I want to work with? Who do I want to attract? So when people say to me all the time, I hate working with realtors, I'm like, there's great realtors and there's lousy realtors and there's great mortgage professionals but there's a lot of great people out there. And when you get clear on your value proposition and who you are and what's important to you and the value you want to bring to other people, it's an energy, right? People want to be around you if the way you show up is here. I am in service to you and I want to make your life better. I want to help you be more successful in your business. Every time I talked to a realtor, it was about them. And still to this day, I have I had a realtor here for dinner on Monday night. I love making it about them. Like, what can I do to help you build and grow your business? What are you doing to market your business? What are you not doing that you would like to be doing in your business? It's opening up a bigger conversation that shows that you care about them and what they're doing, and you want to create value and be part of their team and part of their success. And that's just for me. And that really is the why, when you're helping somebody else achieve their dreams, their desires, their goals. I can just speak to this personally. People want to hang out with you. They just do. And so, Dave, I've done my connection to conversion training for you before, but the reason that that training is so powerful in building realtor relationships is because it's like 40 questions to ask a realtor, but it's always asking about them and the relationships that I've developed in asking questions, being curious. You and I've talked about this many times. That's what builds relationship. And so, part of getting the team right is so that you can get out of the file. That is not your best gift as an originator, not a way to fuel your business, not a way to increase production or serve more families. It's to get you focused on the intention for what kind of business do you want to ultimately run. You may not be there today, but I want you to know, I just was talking to a female originator yesterday with 3 little kids. She can't come up for air. She can't breathe. It's a horrible feeling, but there's light at the end of the tunnel if you start mapping out the plan and start taking steps to get the right people around you and to let go. And
So-
it's doable.
So let's do this. So for anyone that's loving Cindy's vibe, you love what she talks about. I've interviewed her before. There's actually a Cindy Ertman playlist. There's not a lot of people that have their own playlist, but Cindy has one. But Cindy, anyone that wants to learn more about your coaching, because you do a lot of different things. You do coaching, you do retreats. How can people connect with you? And do you have anything specific coming up right now?
We do actually, Dave. Thanks for asking. We just started enrollment. We just launched our marketing for my next Mortgage Mastermind Elite group. I take 12 to 15 people max in that group. It's an annual program. It's probably the most fun for me to lead because I'm very, very intimately involved with everybody in the group. And that includes one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and private retreats here that I lead. And those groups, I've never forgotten Michelle Town, who didn't want to join a group, by the way. And I convinced her, because I've coached Michelle for 8 years. And I said, Michelle, do you trust me? She goes, I do. I said, then just join. And she was sitting in my kitchen, the very end of the retreat, the final retreat. And she said, if you would have told me that I'd be in your kitchen with tears running down my face, in love with these 12 people, and I'll go to bat for them for life, I would have told you you're crazy. And it's just a really beautiful experience. So it's very collaborative. We bring 12 high performance mortgage professionals together to share best practices. I bring in a lot of incredible leaders to help kind of round us out as an entire person. So we have a saying at, my company that, when you coach with us, mortgage is not the only thing that expands, your life does too, because we really like coaching the whole person. I'm passionate about helping people build systems, processes, and teams so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor and have a life. So my Mortgage Mastermind Elite group is really for the mid-tier producer that wants to go to the next level of success, not for a new agent. It's not about production numbers, but I have people in my current group that are from 25 million in production to 200 million in production. It's about being invested in learning, being committed to growth, being collaborative, and being willing to learn. It's my favorite thing to lead. So if you want any more information, you can go to mortgagemastermindelite.com, or you can email our team at info@cindyrtman.com. And we do complimentary strategy calls to see if you're a fit. And I'd love to have the opportunity to talk to you if you're interested.
Well, my closing thought, guys, if you had a chance to get on the phone with Cindy Ertman to have a discovery call, that would be a gift. And that would be worth thousands of dollars just to have that consulting session. So highly recommend you check it out and you learn more from Cindy. Like I said, always one of my favorite interviews, 2-decade-old friend, someone that when I think of masterminding, like I've built everything that's great that's happened in my life. It's going to events, but then it's not what happens on stage. It's what's happened by the pool. It's what happens at dinner. It's what happens at lunch. It's what
100%.
happens at masterminding. So Cindy, I hope you and I get to see each other before this. Well, are you going to Renee's event in August?
I'm going to Renee's event. Absolutely committed. I will be there. Can't wait.
So middle of August, we'll both be at Renee's event, and I can't wait to have dinner with you and cheers with a real glass of wine in our hand.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Always such a pleasure to be here with your audience. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.